Season's greetings and salutations. It's me, Rocky the Third, and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, and all the other things. I'm already going to be talking a lot today, so we'll just skip all the pleasantries and just give you the gift. That gift, of course, being my first ever original Pokémon line. Now, before anyone mentions anything about it not being an ice type, and it's December, and it's Christmas, and understandable. However, there's some light ties to winter stuff, so we'll just pretend that that's okay. But also, it's a gift. Be grateful. Thank you. I'm going to preface this whole video with some context as how I got this design going before I actually dive into all the fun explanations and fun visuals and whatever. For those of you who didn't know, I used to travel a lot back in the day with my family and even my church to do mission trips, very often. And on one of those mission trips in 2017, we went to North Pole, Alaska. Now, North Pole, everybody knows that's where Santa lives, and it is true, he does live there. But that is also where I learned about Fireweed. That's going to be a big enough hint to tell you where this whole video is going. I think it's obvious enough. I just wanted to point out that that's the type it's going to be. Fire grass, or in my case, fire plant. Plant is grass. Pokemon should have done that from the beginning, but that's a whole other thing, don't worry about it. Also, this was designed, again, way back in the day, before Scarlet and Violet even gave us Scovillain. And don't get me wrong, Scovillain, it's okay. So yeah, Pokemon, take note, you already know what Fireweed is. Unfortunately, it's only been referenced once in Pokemon Rumble World. They just need to do it, you know? Now with that context out of the way, let's get into the art. On a trip to Alaska in 2017, I learned of Fireweed. Now, Fireweed is a surprisingly common flower in North America, except for in the south and southeast part of the continent, which is where I live, so I only learned about it on that trip. It's a wonderful flower, very many uses, and inspired me to make this Pokemon. Fireweed. It's okay, not that kind of weed, guys, calm down. But the name itself, fire grass or grass fire, it doesn't matter the order. A type combo that hasn't been used by Pokemon until Scovillain. However, every artist in the world has already made a pepper Pokemon. So starting New Year's Day of 2020, I took a pencil to paper and designed my own fire grass type Pokemon line. And this is how it ended up. Yeah, I think it looks good, I don't know. Later in the year, I even commissioned an artist to draw it more professionally. I really wanted to see my design drawn up in a less amateur art style. So shout out to Catfish, love the art by the way, drawn to perfection. This is exactly how I would imagine it. Now flash forward to 2024, I had the opportunity to share my design with Lulele, another wonderful Pokemon artist. Now in my excitement to show my design, I completely forgot to put my original art and only put Catfish art, and that's what got featured on Lulele's channel. Now I mention all this because I want to make sure Catfish gets the shout out they deserve, and because it's relevant to the whole design process. In their video, Lee pointed out that the designs could be simplified a bit, and I completely agree. And now that I'm drawing digitally and I'm wanting to share my art, I wanted to take another crack at my designs and see if I can improve it, if just a little bit more. Now there's a lot to talk about with the designs and the names, because, well, it's an original Pokémon, and I haven't even mentioned the names yet. So I'm gonna stop talking and we can cut to the voiceover so we can get this ball rolling. Take it.
Alrighty then, let's start real simple here. It's a fireball wearing a flower hat. That's kind of it. Super simple. It's a first stage, so it's supposed to be real simple. It will get complicated later down the road, so don't worry about that. The main changes from the OG art are proportions and, of course, the rendering. Otherwise, it's exactly the same thing. Allow me to introduce to you Lumangseed, a pure fire type. Lumangseed are believed to be born of forest fires. They're fond of flowers and can be found tending to wildflower patches, being careful not to burn them. They are extremely shy and curious. Lumangseed will hide among the flowers, dimming their glow to remain unseen. When they're excited, they light up and shine brightly.
Cool, super simple. Of the 3 stages, I actually designed Lumangseed last. I knew I had to keep it very simple, but also wanted to make sure it had character. Here's basically what my brain was doing when I was coming up with Lumangseed's original design.
Alright, we're gonna keep this simple. Got the fireweed. That's a plant with fire. It's basically just a fire flower, and that's from Mario. We also have the lava bubbles. Okay. Okay, if we flip that, that looks sort of like a tulip. That's just another fire flower. Alright, let's combine those ideas. And we're gonna add some little arms to it. Alright. That's just a cute little fire spirit. Okay, but I'm missing the flower. How can we add the flower back? Let's see. We're just gonna... Okay. Ah, there we go. That's a Pokemon.
Yeah, that's how my brain works. It's also basically how fast my brain came up with that concept. Like, I didn't even draw very much other than the final draft and the whole sketch page. Now, the name itself, however, that did take a little bit more brain power. As most Pokemon names tend to be, it is just a few words smashed together. I started off with Charmenerba angustifolium, which is the scientific name for Fireweed. I then took lumen, which is a measurement of the total amount of light that some light source gives off, to reference the fact that it's a fireball, it gives off light. We then have angst, or angsty, which is expressing anxiety essentially, which fits its personality pretty well. And then you have seed, which it's not a plant type yet, but it kind of references the fact that it's the first in the line, and it also looks forward as to what it's going to evolve into. That was a weird sentence, I'm sorry for how that was structured. Also, as a connection to seeds, Fireweed seeds can remain dormant until after a fire or some other disturbance clears the area for them to germinate. Fireweed plants need a spacious open area with a lot of access to the sun, and they also need a cold period to germinate before sprouting. And that's how you connect it to winter and Christmas time. Now, admittedly, Lumangseed is a bit clunky and it's kind of long, but it's not as long as Crabominable, and it does still fit the whole thematics. Now, let's evolve Lumangseed.
Alright, that was a super easy start. But this is where things start to pick up with the design. Keep in mind, the Pokemon itself is a fireball with a cloche hat. Alright, so it gains a fire lily hat brooch, a simple dress, and leaves that resemble wings, but they're not actually wings. I used less seed buttons than in the original art to keep things a little simpler, and changed the hat brooch fire lily to be more heart-shaped. Presenting the fire plant type, Charmenerba. These charming Pokemon spend their time learning about plants. They carry the seeds of useful plants, growing them anywhere when needed. The leaves on its back can be used to make a medicinal tea. Charmenerba can control heat to fly far and high. Its mood can be determined by how brightly the flower on its head burns.
Now, instead of referencing Charmenerba angustifolium, I instead used Gloriosa superba, the scientific name for the flame lily, which is the brooch. We then have Char, because it's a fire type, and Charm, or charming, to reference both its personality, but also a hint to magic spells. And lastly, Herb, or herbalism, the study of consumable plants for mostly medicinal purposes. Now, fireweed itself is an herb. It can be edible. Most of it is, in fact. As mentioned already, the leaves can be used to make a medicinal tea. The flowers are often used for making honey, syrup, and jams, and even the shoots are edible and then can be cooked or even eaten raw. Now back to the visuals, I designed Charmenerba's dress to resemble a seed pod. The seeds are encased in this silky fluff, which is very light and enables the seeds to be carried by the wind to disperse everywhere. Now you take that idea, you add fire to it, and you essentially get a tiny hot air balloon or sky lantern, which use heat to fly. They are beautiful and magical. Which brings us to the next design inspiration, magical girls. Generally speaking, magical girls are normal girls who gain some sort of magical ability, transform, and fight evil. Now the main magical girls that inspired these designs are Ojo Majo Doremi, Purikua, and Puella Magi Madoka Magica. I don't know how correctly I said them, I just wanted to say them like that because it's fun. In the case of Doremi, the main character of the show, she becomes a magical girl or witch's apprentice, essentially to turn a witch back into her original form. As for Madoka, well, if you know, you know. And with Precure, they tend to stick to the main generic premise of magical girls and battle evil with beautiful, flashy, and sparkly attacks. It's really nice, I'm not gonna lie. And there always seems to be a heart somewhere in a magical girl design. That's sort of what I was going for with the Flame Lily thing. It's kind of like a soul gem or transformation device in the shape of a heart. And remember how I said the Fireball is a Pokemon itself? Well, because of its study of plants and magical girl powers, Charmenerba is able to use seed pods as hands. Alright, now with all this understanding and knowledge, let's evolve this magical girl.
That's right, the logical evolution is a witch, obviously. My original design was for sure a bit too detailed with all those tiny flowers on the hat, And if anything, I could use that for a future mega. But that's not for now. Its hairdo is a leaf, and the hat brooch looks more like a flame. The dress is in full bloom, with detached leaves and a train made of fire to break up all that dang pink. Meet the powerful and beautiful fire plant type Fuegrace. Fuegrace can be found growing in gardens in damaged environments. These kind-hearted Pokemon seek to restore these areas with their mastery over both fire and plants. Fuegrace can conjure intense flames that leave no burns. There's a legend that the buds in its hat bloom into flowers that grant eternal life, but no one has actually seen them.
I'm genuinely so happy with Fuegrace. This is actually the first design I drew in the whole entire line. But let's start with the name first, because it's simple. The first half is Fuego. It's fire in Spanish. And the other half is Grace, like in graceful or gracious. Its personality. But to stick with the flower connections, Grace is also coming from the suffix of the families that Fireweed and Flame Lilies come from, which are Onagracia and Colchicacia, respectively. Now to the visuals. When I first saw the Fireweed, I literally said, that looks like a witch. Okay, hear me out. You take the top part of the plant, you twist it to look kind of like a hat, and then you have the pink flowers, which could be like clothing, I guess, and then the rest of the stalk is just the body. And for those of you wondering, yeah, that's literally what Fuegrace looks like. It's a fireball with a plant body because the Pokemon is the fireball. Now for some of the visuals, I did kind of steal them from Precure, mainly the flame train and sleeves and butterfly leaf looking thing. The dress is still itself a fireweed flower, but stretched out to look more like a lily. Now the whole idea with the dress being both fire and flowers is literally in reference to how fireweed is kind of fire resistant. Not fireproof, just resistant. Now as long as the rhizomes are deep enough in the ground, they can survive a fire and even sprout back from the ashes. It's like a phoenix. Now because of fireweed's identity of growing back after a fire or some other disturbance, they are viewed as a symbol of resilience. And as previously mentioned, fireweed does have some health benefits. In fact, it's been used for ages nationwide in traditional medicine. Notably, and I'm going to read from my notes here, fireweed can be used to aid with migraines, colds, treating burns, cuts, and infections, and has even been shown to have some anti-aging properties, which a witch would want. And with all that in mind, that's how Fuegrace is a pyrokinetic herbalist witch.
Alright, I'm sure that was a lot for y'all to take in. I definitely talked a heck ton. So we're just going to slowly ease out with the concept art and summaries over my designs. Starting with, of course, Lumangseed. She's just a sweet little fireball, flame spirit, will-o-wisp, or whatever you will. Definitely had Flabebe in mind with the deck stuff for the whole line, of course, and Pelil was subconsciously in the back of my head, I guess, because it is indeed just a ball with eyes. Yeah. Lumangseed then evolves into Charmenerba, a charming magical girl. The idea being that the timid little fireball, upon evolving, gains more confidence and uses their magic to befriend others. With Braixen also referencing magical girls, they'd absolutely be on a team together. I think Alcremie is also adorable and would fit the team. Floette as well, I suppose. They're definitely best friends for sure. Charmenerba finally evolves into Fuegrace. Absolutely, there would be a coven with her friends. I mean, Delphox is also a witch, so there's that. Florges is also very much a flower-forward Pokemon, so that would make a lot of sense. And Lilligant, super gorgeous. I mean, there's also that light herbalism connection there too. Yes, very flower and fire-forward, but I think it's fantastically fabulous and fun. Now I need an animated evolution sequence.
And there we go. That's my original Fakemon line. I hope you liked it. I'm tired of talking, so we're going to do a real quick outro. Hit the like button if you liked the video, if you liked my original design, or if you just like, I don't know, cheese. I also have a few more original Fakemon designs to share later down the road, so subscribe to see those later. Find my socials if you want to. They're in the description. I'm not online all the time. Don't really tend to use it, but that's where I share a lot of my art, so you can see literally all my future video stuff in advance. Yippee. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year. I will see you in 2025, or 2026, or whatever point in time you see. I'm leaving. I just been only editing the video. But hey, I got a Pokemon pledge, so we're okay. Okay, bye.